Okay, we are live. We are
Hey,
live. Let's see if
nice.
there's anyone. I think Wantin said she was waiting to join us, so I'm very
So
excited
sweet.
to have her. There we go. Hi, hi.
Hello.
Just gonna wait for a while.
Would I
Let
be able to see who's online?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay, not a problem.
How it works. We can see the comments, I think, if someone pops it in.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Okay. So maybe I'll just start with introducing you and we'll see who joins us after that. And we can always have people watch the replay after.
Thank you.
No worries at all. Okay. So hi, I know there's someone who just joined us. Sorry, I can't see who is that, but really wonderful to have you join us today. I'm Sophie from Hearty Mums, and Hearty Mums is where we love equipping working moms with tools to nurture happy, thriving children. And so every week we speak to different experts, and it's normally along a certain kind of theme. So currently we are focused on exams. Hi, Bin. Thanks for joining us.
It's that
Yeah,
time
so
of the year.
today, yeah, so today our guest speaker will be sharing with us about how to use Bach Flower Remedies to combat exam stress and anxiety. So I'm very happy to welcome Dr. Vimala Murali. She's my very, very good friend. She's a homeopath and also a Bach Flower Remedy practitioner. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to her. Hi, Vimala. Thank you
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. So
so
excited.
Thank you for taking the time to do this. So can you
Oh,
tell
my pleasure, really.
yes, can you please tell us more about, what you do and how did you get into becoming a bud flower remedy practitioner?
Okay, interesting question. I'll try to keep my answer short because I tend to talk long in long sentences. I'm a former accountant. I was a financial controller. Huge amounts of stress that all corporate moms go through. Career, children, family, parents, in-laws, managing all of that. And at one point, my health became really bad, and the children were young, so I took the opportunity to stop the corporate work. I mean, I literally left that world. And then after a couple of years, I got bored. I said, "What am I going to do with my time now?" Okay. But
Ah,
I had always had interest in the human mind and how it works and what it does and things like that. And also because my health was, giving me problems, so I was looking for natural solutions. And so I went on to study homeopathy. My father was a homeopathic doctor, and my maternal grandfather was also one. So I had grown up with these remedies, but I did not look at it as a career at that point in time. Obviously, I wanted to do some big things. That's what I thought. Okay, so it was much later that I studied homeopathy, and then as I started practicing with it, because in homeopathy we look at the mind as well as the physical symptoms, and so that gave me a lot of insight into the human mind, and which remedy works for what kind of personality and things like that. So that was fascinating,
yes,
right?
it is.
Because all my other reading on the human mind and subconscious mind and superconscious mind and all that stuff, and the brain work, then the way the neurosciences were talking about the brain, and then homeopathy was fitting in into a lot of those things, and I said,
Wow.
that's interesting. Okay, so and then as an ancillary subject, I actually studied the Bach flower remedies.
Hmm.
I refer to them as batch. If you don't mind, I'll keep using that as batch,
Okay.
because this is not the German Bach. This is a Welsh name which is actually pronounced as batch. Same
Oh,
spelling, but it's pronounced differently. Okay.
okay.
Anyway, so I studied the batch flower remedies, and then again, just looking at flowers that can help the human mind. I said, wow, that's fascinating. So I studied it formally. I went on to get qualified with the UK body. And then I started, I mean, before that, I used it on myself, of course, as most of us do. We try it on ourselves, for my stress and so on. And as it helped me, I used it with my children. And the last person in my family I used it with was my husband, because he didn't believe in all this stuff. He said, too woo woo for him. So, he gave me a Panadol anytime, kind of. He's that kind of guy, still was. So as I started using it, and he saw the results that it gave me and with my children, and then he decided to use it as well. He had this huge anxiety about flying. He hated flights. And in his work, he had to fly. I mean, fly for his work. So I gave him these remedies and it helped him quite a lot. And he said, okay, there's something to this. Okay? And so when I started my practice, I initially started with homeopathy and the Bach Flower Remedies. I still do homeopathy and this, but my focus is really on women and children and their stress issues. So that's how I came to this, from my own pain or struggle to how I managed that, then with my children, and then to where I am now practicing with lots of people. And that's been a long journey, 15, 20 years in this. So every day I'm still learning. Yeah.
Yeah, we never stop learning. And I'm so
We
glad
never stop learning. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm excited to learn more today. And I already learned my first thing, which is its pronunciation is Bach Flower Remedies.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. I wasn't trying to correct you. Just that I'll keep saying batch, and you might wonder why I'm saying that.
Okay, so can you tell us more about these Bach Flower Remedies?
Okay, these are remedies, or actually drops. They are made from flowers that grow in the UK. They are wild flowers, not the cultivated flowers. Okay? So Dr. Edward Bach, he was a medical physician, and he was a researcher as well. In the 1920s and 30s, he found that people were not getting better, even though he was treating them with the best medication available at that time. Okay? And so people were coming back, with the same kind of illness or similar things. And he was like, what's going wrong? Why we're doing the best we can for these patients, and why are they coming back? And at the same time, as he saw the inpatients, people who were in the hospital, he saw that the ones who were positive and happy generally seemed to get better faster, or they didn't have the recurrence so much. Okay? Whereas the ones that were pessimistic, those who were unhappy or who had a lot of negative stuff going on inside them, they seemed to keep coming back with illnesses, or they were not getting better at all. So he said, there's something interesting. So he had heard of homeopathy. So he went and looked at it, because homeopathy is 200 years old. So it was done in the late 1700s, early 1800s. And he realized that the mind and the body had a connection. And so he gave up his medical practice. He had a practice like something what we would call the doctors at Orchard Road here, like a really flourishing practice. But he gave that up, and he went to the countryside in England, settled down there, and for 6 years he researched with various flowers there. Wow. And at one point he became so intuitive that he could put a flower in his hand and he would know what it was for. It's like he was so well connected with nature that he knew that this flower can help with this.
What a gift.
But again, because he was a medical researcher, he did not just take that as a given. He actually researched with lots of different flowers, and finally he settled on these 38. And these 38 are actually 37 plus 1, which is a water. This is what we are now having as the Bach system of healing. Okay? So if you don't mind, I'll just show you one or two of these. Okay.
So the flowers, they extract the essence of it, and then they
the way they are made is quite interesting. It is quite different from essential oils or aroma oils or those kind of things, because those are actual, crushing of the flowers and taking an oil out of it, or an essence out of it. Although these are called essences, they are not actually that way. We take not me, the company that does it, they take the flowers in their prime, they put them in a glass bowl of water, leave them under the sunlight for 7 to 8 hours. And in England, getting good sunlight can be sometimes difficult, because it can be raining quite often. Yeah. So when they get a good day of sunlight, they really make lots of remedies. So they put these under the sunlight, and the if I may call it loosely as a belief, or the understanding, is that the sun transfers the energy of that flower into the water. Okay, the flowers are then discarded. The water is what we use as the remedies. Then they use an equal amount of brandy to preserve it, because water will spoil, right? So we need something that will preserve it. So they use brandy to preserve it. And then it comes bottled to me. For example, like this one, it'll come in bottles like these. Okay, and this one, it is called white chestnut. The white chestnut flower is for those people, like many of us have these looping thoughts that just go on and on and on and on and on. It's like a broken record, it just goes on. Or sometimes it's like the same song keeps going in your head all the time. Or a conversation you had with someone, and that is bothering you, and that conversation going on and on and on again. So this remedy helps with decluttering the mind in those kind of situations where the person is overthinking stuff, going on and on about things. All right. So this is just an example. And we have as I said, we have 38 remedies. But with the 38, we have so many combinations we can make, millions of combinations. So we do it according to each person's emotions. And again, as in homeopathy, in this one, we believe that everyone is unique. Every person is as unique as their fingerprint.
So
So we look at. Sorry, good.
You're saying
it's completely customized, except for one which Dr. Bach himself put as a blend. I'll talk about that when we're talking about the children's stress. Yeah?
Okay.
So yes, so it's a system of 38 flower remedies made from flowers that come from the UK, and they come to me in a kit, and then I will customize the blend for my clients. That's what I do.
Yeah. And earlier on, you mentioned that.
I'm sorry about my throat. It's a little funny.
Yeah, thank you for coming on despite that.
Oh, no, my pleasure. I love talking about this subject. So
earlier on, you mentioned that brandy is used to preserve remedies. So for parents who might be concerned about alcohol content, can you say something about that?
Yes. Okay. A couple of things. The brandy is used to preserve, yes, but the amount of the actual remedy, the amount of the brandy used for any person is very, very little. So even though this bottle contains half water of brandy, roughly, I'm just doing a rough estimation. Sorry, my video has gone off. Yeah. So I would use very little of this to make the blend for that person. Therefore, the actual quantum of the brandy is very, very little. Now, for parents who might be very concerned about that, we do have alcohol-free remedies. Mm-hmm. So there are remedies that come without alcohol. They use glycerin as a preservative or some other preservatives. Okay. Now, for my clients who are, I do have Muslim and other religion who are particular about the alcohol. So I will tell them to put it in warm water so that the alcohol evaporates and you still got the energy of the essence.
Oh, very interesting.
So because when you put alcohol into hot water or something, it will evaporate.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so these are all like the tips and tricks that we practitioners do. Yeah. So as I've said, I've given these to my children. Mm-hmm. I've given them to a client's kid who was like 3 years old. Okay. So they're very, very safe.
Surely.
Yes.
So maybe tell us a little bit more about the different remedies that we can use for children who are especially, going through exam stress.
Yes. Okay. As a mother of 2 grown-up boys, I've gone through all these stages from PSLE to A levels and then university. I've gone through all those different stages. I wish when I was studying, I had known about these remedies. It would have saved me a lot of stress. But for my sons, I have used them. Particularly so before their A levels, I used to give them for almost a month. Okay, because they studied very well. They're both hardworking, good students. But when on that day, your entire 12 years of work, it's what you do, what you write on that paper on that day that counts, right? At A levels, I'm saying. So I would give them this basically to keep their mind calmer, to not overload the mind so that the information that they have studied is well retained and can be recalled well when they go to the exams. Right? So that is why I was giving it to my sons. Now, there are children who are very fearful of exams. They are good in studies, they are okay with everything, but they just hate the idea of an exam. If you give them a normal thing at home, they can do the same paper, but when they go to the exam hall, they're like, they do something wrong, they make mistakes, right? It happens with a lot of kids. And then the parents are wondering, I've given you the same thing to do at home. You got it right. How come you got it wrong in the test paper or the exam paper? What happens at that point is the child is feeling scared. And when they're scared, they're bound to make mistakes. It happens with all of us. Even with adults, right? So what I would give them would be, I would actually find out, if possible, from the child what he's actually fearful of.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, some kids are, oh, I'm very scared of maths. I don't think I can do math at all. Right? Now he's telling me a very specific fear that I cannot do math. I think I will not do well in maths. In that case, I will give him this remedy called mimulus. Now this mimulus is for those people who have very specific fears, meaning he's able to say, I am scared of sitting for the maths exam. Okay? Or I am scared my parent will scold me because of my poor results. I am scared that, on that day I will forget everything. So when he's able to say something he or she, of course, is able to say specifically what that fear is, then I would, in the blend, I would put mimulus. Okay. Now, if a child, on the other hand, is someone who does study well, okay, but he is just overwhelmed. So when it comes to, for example, O levels and A levels, there's so many years of material you're supposed to remember. Right? Because when you are in JC2, when you're being tested at A levels, you're not just tested for JC2 subjects. You're actually getting topics all the way from maybe secondary 1 all the way to JC2. Right? So it's so many things you have to remember. And this child is feeling, sorry, when I say child, you mean, I know, teenager, right? Forgive me if anyone takes offense to that. Right? Yeah. So for that person, that child, that teenager, I would give this remedy called ELM. I'm not sure if you can see it, sorry. ELM. Now, ELM is for overwhelm, where they are doing well, but they're just so overwhelmed that they feel like they can't handle it. Okay? So you see, again, we are very, very specific about what we are trying to handle. Okay. Now this one, Aspen, is the remedy I would give for, sorry, this keeps going out of camera. Aspen. Aspen is the remedy I would give for someone who's generally anxious. He's not able to say specifically what he or she is anxious about, but just feels anxious about it all the time. Okay, so I would give this one. And this is actually a great remedy for many parents too. Because the moment they think of the child's exams, they are anxious. Yeah, so even though they know the child is getting all the tuition, all the help, all the papers that they need to practice and everything, they get very anxious. Remember on Facebook, on one of your things I put there, one of the things is parents must stop getting stressed out. Right?
Yeah,
Because
your
if we
energy
truly,
rubs onto the child.
yeah, because the child picks up on that energy, and if we are so stressed out, the child definitely picks it up. And trust me, I can say that from experience because I have made that mistake many times. Okay? Like they would be studying and I would be, stressed out. Have you finished this? Have you done that? Have you finished blah blah blah? And then that, so I had to learn, and Aspen definitely helped with that. There are those whose minds are very crowded, so we have remedies for that. There are those who panic. You see, fear is a little different. Fear is I'm afraid of something. Panic is when they're really in the terror and fright in their bodies. They just can't do anything. So for panic, again, I might use Aspen, but I also have another remedy called rock rose. Rock rose. This is specifically for panic and works very well for panic attacks as well.
Wow.
Even for adults as well. Okay. So these are all the different, we have 37, 38 remedies. And so when I talk to a client, I will know, as they talk, we pick up many things from, and now because of COVID, I'm not seeing them in person, but generally with the body language also, we can pick up many things. And then I will make a specific blend for them.
All right. So you kind of
now the general, sorry, coming in. Sorry,
so you
what
kind
did you
of
say?
have a chat with your client or patient,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
you personalize customize
Yes.
a remedy then.
Yes. Now, generally speaking, if it's an old enough child who can talk to me, then I would prefer doing that. But occasionally the child is too young, or if it's a teenager who doesn't want to get any help, then I would have to rely on what the parents tell me. Right? But it's up to them to convince their child to take it, because I can't get involved in that part of it. Because often it happens with teenagers. Parents want to get them help, but the teenager says, no, I don't want.
And how are these taken? So like how often, how frequent, and
Yeah.
how does it?
Now, generally, I will make. Okay, this is an empty bottle. So this is a 30 ml empty bottle. So I will make the blend in a bottle like this. It's a dropper bottle. Okay, dropper. So for an adult, I'll just talk about adult dose. Generally, children above 12 also take the adult dose. Children under 12 take the child's dose, which is usually half of the adult's dose. Okay, so the adult dose is generally 4 drops from this bottle 4 times a day. It's really, really simple. Just take it,
Drop it in your
four
mouth or
drops. Yes, just directly 4 drops in the mouth, and that's it. Done.
or can they add that in a
So
drink or directly into the
it
mouth?
can be added to tea or even your water bottle. Like I have my water bottle. When I teach classes, and because when I teach classes, I teach sometimes for 4 hours straight, and I get not straight. I mean, I get a 10-minute break, but I'm talking for so long and I get tired. So towards the third hour or so, my mind starts wandering, right? Because you get tired. And
Okay.
I put remedies into my bottle, okay? And I'll keep sipping it throughout the class because it helps me to stay focused
Yeah.
and not get quite so tired. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
so that's what I do. So I will make a bottle for them, and then for if it's a child under 12, it's two drops 4 times a day. If it's over 12 and adults, then it is 4 drops 4 times a day. Generally, I will review after 3 weeks because a bottle for an adult it will last 3 weeks, and then I'll look at what has changed, what has not changed. If something hasn't changed, why hasn't it changed? Um, Generally, most people, I mean, if we're talking about exam stress, within a few days, even just a couple of hours already, you should see changes.
Wow. That's very
Yeah.
effective. That's very good.
Yeah, very, very effective. And the best thing about it for me personally, as a mom who has given it to her own sons, is that it is so safe. There is
Mm.
absolutely no contraindications.
Yeah.
You
So
can
that's
use it with anything that you're taking. You know, unlike some therapeutic things, there can be some side effects, and of course, medication. We all know they have side effects. These flower remedies, there's just none of that. Okay? And the beauty of it is, it's fascinating for me even today, when a client comes back the second time or the third time, and I say, okay, how are you? I'm okay, blah, blah, blah. And because I have detailed notes from the first 2 sessions, I will actually go through and say, okay, you mentioned this. How is that? Did I say that? They'll actually tell me, did I say that? I said,
very
yeah, I've written
comfortable.
it down here. And I said, oh, yeah, I used to have that, but I've not had it at all.
Wonderful.
Because the way it works is it's so gentle, and it works in such a natural way that you feel like it just went away by itself. No big drama about it,
Yes.
no zap, nothing like that. Although we use the term zap in our title, but you do zap it, but it happens so naturally that there is no, you don't actually feel it. So suddenly you're fearful, you take the remedy, and then within 5-10 minutes you're starting to feel better. Within 15 to 30 minutes you're actually like, okay, I can think straight now. Yeah. So that's the beauty. Okay, the one thing I did want to mention earlier, you remember I said there is one mix.
Ah,
There are
yes, yes.
38 individual remedies, and there is only one mix. I think the light is a bit poor. Can you see it?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Yeah, rescue remedy spray. Now this is like my absolute go-to remedy for any kind of stress. It's an all-purpose, general, generic type of remedy. It's not unique to that individual. It's not personalized, but it works so well that I give it to practically everyone I can think of. Right? And it comes in the form of a spray like this or drops like this. Both work in the same way. And the best thing about this is it's a blend that Dr. Batch himself put together because he experimented with blends.
Yes.
Because he spent 6 years doing these things, so he experimented quite a lot, and then he discarded some and he said, no, these don't work so well. This was the final one that he came up with, and the only mix that he made. Okay? And it's so effective that, do we have time? Can I share a couple of examples?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, do you remember I mentioned that my husband had this issue with flights?
Yes.
He would get very restless. The moment he got on the flight, and once the seatbelt sign was off, he would start getting up and walking around, walk, 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 because he gets so restless, and he couldn't sleep at all, even on long haul flights. And he would keep walking, or he'd keep, by the time later on when they had movies on demand, he would keep watching movies because he would just be so anxious about it. Okay? And I gave him this. This was the first one I gave him. I said, I would start giving him from a day or two before, because I know he's starting to get anxious. He'll get restless, keep pacing around in the house. And then I told him, take once before you get on the flight, take it again, one more time, and then just put it aside and let me know what happens. And for once in his life, he trusted me. Sorry, I'm just kidding. No, he used it, and then he came back and said, I don't know if it's your medicine or it was something else, but I actually slept on the flight. Oh, okay. Because you see, it happens. That's the thing I mean by it happens so naturally. You think you just fell asleep. It had nothing to do with this. Okay? And that's how it works. So for me, as I said, I had given it to my sons before, when they went for exams, just on that day before. I would give them even the few days beforehand. One month before, I give them a personal blend, and then for the week before, I would combine it with this, because this just keep them up. Okay? And I've got lots and lots of stories about this one. This is one of the most amazing products I have ever seen. And it works so quickly and so safely. See, for myself, I just shake it a little, and then that's it. 2 sprays in the mouth. So for an adult, that's it. For a child, it's just one spray in the mouth. And if it's very intense stress, so for example, the day before the exams, the child is really getting very fretful. You know how some children say, I don't want to go for the exams. I think I'm going to fail. I don't think I can handle it. I don't want to go. And the child has prepared well. And yet they are just, feeling that. Now, if we have rock rose, I would give rock rose. Not all the parents would have it. So I would tell them to keep rescue remedy and keep giving it every 10 minutes. And then within 30 to 40 minutes, the child would be fine.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So we have remedies for children who can't focus. For example, this is a common thing. My child never focuses.
Yeah,
so I have.
Wow.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you earlier and I forgot. Sorry. When I talk about this, I get carried away. So Clematis. This is a remedy. Again, sorry, the lighting is a bit weird. Okay, Clematis. Anyway, so this is a remedy that for those minds that are wandering, they're not worried about what happened in the past, like white chestnut. This one is for those who just cannot focus. The mind is like dreaming. You say, oh, my daughter is always daydreaming. I don't know. Every time she sits in front of her, books, she's dreaming. Okay. It happens to a lot of kids because they just get bored, right? They just get bored and their mind wanders. At that time, Clematis helps a lot to bring them back to the present. So even for people like us, sometimes when we are doing the same work, we get bored and the mind just starts to go somewhere else. Okay? Again, Clematis can help. This is not for worry or fear. This is very specific for not being able to focus, for daydreaming. Okay.
Wow.
So very, very powerful, very, very good remedy for that.
Yes.
Yeah? So I've got a lot of different ones. Olive is one I give to a lot of youngsters who are studying. Now this is, sorry again, I still haven't figured out how to show you. Okay, olive, like the olive we eat, but this is the flower. This one is excellent for people who are exhausted after studying so much.
Oh.
We all get tired, right? We just get tired after burning the midnight oil, and you're just so tired. You don't want the child to, next day go to the exams and then fall asleep because they're so tired. So olive can help with that because they're studying late at night and all that. Olive can help to renew the energy.
Wow.
Okay. So we have a lot of, it has other uses, but I'm just talking about in terms of exam stress and studies. Okay. So of course, as practitioners, we know the different uses, but here I'm just talking only about these.
Yeah. Very perfect.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, We have a question from Pin, and she's asking if there are remedies for depression.
Yes. Now, the answer is yes. Again, with depression, I would work very carefully because there are varying types of depression. So I would want to know whether it is just a general feeling of sadness and feeling depressed, or is the person clinically depressed or having bipolar or those kind of things. So there are remedies, but if they are requiring some kind of psychological or psychiatric care, we would have to work alongside that.
Yes.
But if someone is depressed, generally, just not a clinical kind of depression, but just feeling a general sadness or a general down feeling, definitely I can help very quickly with the
Okay, I hope
remedies.
that
Yes.
matters.
So one of those, since she has asked the question, I will mention it. But I would not recommend people going and buying it and taking it by themselves. Please don't, because these have, especially those like depression, best to work with a practitioner, because then they
Yes.
can assess what is going on, and and don't self-administer these things. I mean, if you're just taking rescue remedy, by all means, take it even 10 times a day. It doesn't matter. It's not a There's no issue of safety there. But with depression, I don't know whether the person is having suicidal thoughts, whether anything else is going. So it would not be right for me to just give general over-the-counter advice. Okay, but one of the remedies that we use for depression is, again, sorry, mustard. The mustard seed, the French mustard, all those that we have. This is mustard made from the flower of that tree. This is for the kind of inexplicable sadness that many times we feel. We don't understand. I was quite fine, and then why suddenly I'm feeling so depressed? Right? That it's like a cloud of gloom that just descended over you. You don't know why you're feeling that way. And then mustard is very good for that.
Oh, wow.
It alleviates the mood very, very quickly. But again, as I said, depression can see, again, what people call depression could be something else. It could be hopelessness. It could be feeling dejected after something happened. So again, I would need to know the details, because if someone is, after some setback happened, for example, let's say a relationship broke. Okay? It happens to lots of people. And after that, that person feels that I will never be in a relationship again. Nothing will ever work out for me. I'm just doomed to be single. Whatever, all these kind of thoughts, I wouldn't give mustard. I would give something else, which is called gentian. Gentian is very specific for disappointment and dejection and frustration arising out of a setback. So you see how specific we get with these things?
Yes, and you're really also going to the root of the issue. And
Yes, we need to understand that what is driving that person to that feeling.
yes, and then
Because emotions just happen. We don't, we have no control over them. But as a practitioner, I would want to understand what triggered it. So sometimes it could be trauma. Somebody went through some trauma. And so this depression is not just depression, it is coming from that trauma. And sometimes it can be 20 years later.
yes,
Because trauma is something that stays in your system for a long, long time. Even if you have closed it very tight and decided never to open it, it shows up somewhere else. Okay?
yes.
It shows up as physical ailments, it shows up as something else. And so that's why I would do a detailed case taking to talk to the person. And again, as you can see in this kind of work, it's very important for us to maintain that trust and confidentiality. Because everything the person says to me, they must be able to say it openly, knowing that there is absolutely no judgment involved. Okay. With children, of course, that's not such a big issue. But of course, with adults, everybody's got so many things going on. So even with children, sometimes the issue is with the child. The issue is in the family, in the home.
Yes.
There are things happening there. And so, sometimes I would need to talk to the parents about it and say, and as an adult myself, as a mother myself, quite often I had to take the remedies, not my children.
Yep,
Because
so
I
you're
was the
such a
one
good
putting all that stress, right? Because to us, healing it has to be holistic. It is from every angle. You can't just, because we are all in a symbiotic relationship. We are all, especially when you live together in a family, you are all affecting each other all the time. So I would look at that also, but not to make it so complicated. you know, for the purpose of children's exam stress, of course, I don't have to go so in depth. It is really very specific to that issue. But if the child is having behavioral issues or something else going on, I would go deeper.
Well, thank you
Okay,
so
the
much.
trauma medicine I forgot to mention. Sorry, the trauma medicine is this one, the trauma one, Star of Bethlehem. Bethlehem, as in Jesus is from the Bible, Bethlehem. Okay, Star of Bethlehem.
Lovely.
One of the most frequently remedies, especially with adults.
Okay, great.
So yes, sorry I've
Thank you so
talked too
for
much as
sharing.
usual.
Yeah, sharing so much today. It's so fascinating, and I've learned so much. So I'm very excited to
And
give it a try as
it's a
well.
very wide subject. Even today, I'm learning more things about it because although there are only 38 remedies, it's like the remedies are on a spectrum. You see, when the client comes, they are on a different. I don't mean the autism spectrum. Sorry, not that. The the emotion itself. How deep has it gone in? So, for example, anger, a strong period of time, it becomes resentment. It becomes bitterness. Or jealousies that have not been cleared out of your system can become bitterness about the other person.
Truly,
Right?
yes.
So we need to look at where that person is and what is happening with them. Right? Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so I have some bonus questions for you. You ready?
Oh, okay.
So, we're all about, encouraging moms to take care of themselves. So what is one thing you do that keeps you happy?
Exercise.
Wonderful.
I love the when I was younger, of course I could do a lot more aerobics and stuff. Now I can't do quite so much. Being older, I don't want to hurt my knees and stuff. But I do low impact aerobics or low impact dance workouts and all that. Don't look at me when I dance. I dance terribly, but it's just for my fun. And when I do it, I feel so much better. Right? And
Yeah.
the other one is definitely this one. When I'm stressed.
What is that? The
When I'm
rescue
stressed,
one.
I use the rescue remedy. Yes, because
That's a great to know.
because I think even when we are in this kind of work with this level of awareness, we fall out of awareness. When something happens in the outside world, it triggers us, and then we fall out of it. So these remedies help me to come back to that balance far more quickly than if I have to sit with it and you know. Of course, it's important to process the emotions, but it helps me to process it much more quickly.
Wonderful. Very
And the
helpful.
second thing is talking to people like you.
Oh, thank you.
You said what keeps
I'm
me
really
happy.
humbled.
Yes.
Yes.
People,
Very
I
nice.
love talking. I love talking to people. So,
Like-minded people.
yes.
Wonderful. So I have one more question. So, our group is about Hearty Mums. And to me, a Hearty Mom is one who is happy and fulfilled and able to nurture thriving children. So what would be your definition of a Hearty Mom?
To me, a hearty mom would be someone who is happy in her own life and she is able to bring that happiness to her family. Doesn't mean she's happy 100% of the time, but there is an undercurrent of happiness always go back to. So, like Masi Shimoff's book, Happy for No Reason. That's a fantastic book because
Wow.
really most of us make happiness as something that we will feel when something happens.
Maybe
When
achieve
COVID
something.
ends, when COVID ends, okay, I'll be happy. Or when I meet my friend for lunch, I will be happy. Or if my son, gets straight A's in his exams, I'll be happy. We put happiness as a factor of something else.
So it becomes
But
very
to
external.
me, it should be the other way around. Happiness should be the precursor or the prerequisite. And when you work from that space, then other things will fall into place. So a hearty mom to me is someone who is, I'm borrowing the word from Buddhism, is content. Is
Very
content in
wonderful.
her, in what she's doing, with what she's doing. She will make mistakes. We all do. And the key, I think the understanding that I'm coming to, because trust me, as a recovering perfectionist, the understanding I'm coming to now is I will make mistakes. But it's what I do about those mistakes when I realize I've made one that's going to make the difference.
And
Because
that's
I made
exactly
tons of mistakes with my parenting. I can assure you, tons and tons of mistakes. I can write a book about it. Yeah. So a Hearty Mom to me is someone who is not only focused on what she does for her family or her children, or even for, that her happiness is dependent on their results, but that she is happy with who she is and how she's expressing herself in the world. And then that way she is influencing her children and impacting on them to live in a world that is most of the time chaotic. Isn't it?
yes.
Because we know in the next generation of people, 2 degrees are not going to be enough. It's not going to get you anywhere. You can have a master's and PhD and it's not get quick.
Oh, did I lose you? Are you there? Let's just wait for a while for Vimala to come back. I think she's...
Okay,
Hi,
here I
Vimala.
am.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
back. No, the video kind of went off. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's a process. We may never arrive at this fantastic, I'm done with everything. My life is just perfect. We may never arrive at that. But that's okay. It's okay because it is what you do each day, right? And the comparison, the other thing we women do is we compare ourselves so much with others. Constantly comparing, whether it's about our looks or our clothes or our jewelry or accessories or our achievements, the way we keep comparing to be a Hearty Mom content, she have to compare herself anyway.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened with the video.
No worries, no worries. Well, thank you
Yes.
so much for your sharing. Very, very wise words indeed. And lovely, fascinating
Okay.
information about
Thank.
that. Okay, wait, I'm waiting for you to come back. Can hear you now. Thank you for your patience for those who are watching, and thank you for joining us.
I'm really sorry. I don't understand what's happening with the internet.
No problem. Well, but we're good here. I
Yeah.
think we've covered most of what we want to chat today. So
Okay,
I think
great.
good.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy to share it with you. Before we conclude, thank you so much. This is my first time doing something like this. I'm very comfortable speaking with with audiences, but this is the first time doing something online. So thank you for encouraging me because I might have just run away.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for supporting Vimala.
Thank you so much, and thanks to everyone for supporting Sofie too. She's doing a great job bringing all this wonderful knowledge and information to the moms who really need it. And I think it's not only for the moms, but of course the focus is with the moms because I feel this is my sneaky idea that I think women really hold the key to the family. My husband may disagree. We have a special role because the birthing and the nurturing, the ability to create and nurture was given to us naturally. The ability to protect and provide was given to the men naturally. Okay, so I think we have something special to bring to the family.
Right? Yeah, so let's continue to share our knowledge and learning and build a really warm community of support.
Yes, and COVID go away soon, please.
Yeah.
So that we can meet in person.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Thanks for having me. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Even if later on there are any questions, just let me know.
Yes, please do.
If someone wants to contact me, the best way to do it is by WhatsApp. Okay.
Yes, and we'll put your contact in the comments or in our
Yeah,
main
yeah,
description as well.
yeah. If you go search for my website, I'm a little embarrassed being updated. So you will still find my website and my phone number online, but it's not updated yet.
Okay, good. We'll do that. So
Right.
yeah, thank you everyone, and we'll
Thanks.
see you in the next Hearty Chats.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Vimala.
Bye.